Harrison Butker is a kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. A star player, he is to many living the dream. But growing up, Harrison wasn't always happy in himself.
I don't know, you just play up a different person for different crowds, I guess. It's like certain Harrison for the football team, certain Harrison for the cameras, certain Harrison for your parents and families, certain guy for the weekends. You know, it's just like you're almost this fragmented person.
After training, Harrison changes, but not into what you'd expect. He puts on a cassock and serves at Latin Mass. And Harrison feels his newfound faith is what has given him purpose in life. I've come to Kansas City to meet Harrison, who lives here with his wife Isabel and their newborn baby James Augustine. Let's go back to the start, Harrison. You grew up in Georgia?
Yes, Atlanta, Georgia.
What were you interested in as a kid? What were you passionate about?
So soccer was my first sport. Just was very active, but soccer was definitely my first love. Wanted to be a professional soccer player.
I know you came from a faithful family, but was your faith important to you?
Yeah, so I grew up Catholic. I was going to Mass every Sunday, and then I think that stopped a little bit doing all the travel, year-round club soccer. Fell away a little bit. And then I think in high school, I was just curious. I didn't go to a Catholic high school, and I just started questioning, you know, what's the difference between Catholicism and every other Christian denomination? And then even started questioning Christianity and just looked at different religions. You know, I kind of had I was very curious and I asked a lot of questions. So from high school, as I'd say, you know, I was still a Christian, but just wasn't a strong Catholic. And then I went to college and then just completely stopped going to Mass, really stopped having much of a prayer life.
It seemed from the outset that you kind of had it all. Beautiful girlfriend, young, handsome guy, really popular, great on the field as well. You didn't really need God in your life, did you?
I was just going through the motions. It was this emptiness, you know. I liked football, but there was nothing I was really like passionate about. There was nothing that I saw like, there almost was like no light at the end of the tunnel, you know. It's just kind of like a bunch of school, football, and then you just have the emptiness of the social life in college. Or, I mean, social life is good, but there's also a lot of negatives that can come from your typical, you know, college, you know, the party scene and all those things.
Was it almost as if you were living a lie?
A little bit, I think. I don't know, you just play up a different person for different crowds, I guess. It's like certain Harrison for the football team, certain Harrison for the cameras, certain Harrison for your parents and families, certain guy for the weekends. You know, it's just like you're almost this fragmented person.
It was while at football training in Georgia Tech, Harrison met a guy called Grant, who was a strong Catholic. Harrison was intrigued and kept asking him questions about his faith.
And these were big, like, metaphysical questions, like what is religion, what is the true religion, are these all made up? And then that's when this guy, Grant Asen, he showed up on the football team, and he was just so different than your normal, you know, college guy that was just kind of like, you know, I don't really care about much, I just, you know, look forward to the weekends or partying in the evenings. This guy was like very energetic, into like, you know, everybody he met, like wanted to strike up a conversation. He was just very, I don't know, he had this like spark, you know, and it turned out that he was Catholic and he was on fire about his faith.
Harrison then went to see the priest at Georgia Tech Catholic Center, Father Joshua Allen, to ask him deeper questions about the faith.
What's unique to Catholicism against every other Christian denomination? Why does the Catholic Church believe these old traditional views when, you know, it's just outdated? Like, why are they still stuck in those times? And he just provided reason. I guess it was like almost catechesis whenever I met with him. And that was really the first time I was presented with those truths.
The more Harrison thought and learned about the faith, the more it seemed to make sense to him.
Okay, I believe that Jesus was God. I believe he was the Son of God. Okay, so now I'm Christian. And then which denomination am I in there? Okay, well, I do believe the Catholic Church is the one true church established by Jesus Christ. And then it's like, okay, well, what can I do to get to heaven? How can I love God more?
Harrison was growing in his faith, and one day Grant offered to drive him to church where they were offering confession. And this was the moment that changed everything.
The biggest leap of faith for me was finally going to the sacrament of confession. And then that really was like what changed me. When I left that confessional, the way I felt, that was really what made me feel different than what I'd been feeling before. I felt like I don't know, I felt like me. I felt like I was authentically Harrison, you know, in every area of my life. And that's when I kind of changed my life around and I said, all right, well, the church says these are all sins, I'm going to stop doing these things, and just I saw the fruit from it, the fruit from living a holy and grace-filled life.
So when you walked out of that confessional box and you had decided you were going to live a Catholic life, was that a difficult adjustment to make?
It was, because you still have you have these patterns, you have these behaviors that are habitual, and it's hard to break those. So I think when I finally went to confession for the first time, it was like, all right, I'm going to change my aiming point, I guess. Like, I'm going to change my path, but it's hard to stay on that path. So I guess that's where the real struggle of living a pure and saintly life, like striving to be a saint. That's what it is. We're all called to holiness. We're all called to become saints, and I kind of started on that path, and I guess that's where the journey really began right there.
When you had decided that you were going to live an authentic Catholic life, were you afraid about how you might be perceived when talking to your friends and talking to your teammates about it? Were you worried that they might think, I mean, okay, Harrison, you're a cool guy, but like all this talk of Jesus and God is a bit much?
Yeah, I think, I did have this deep conversion, but then it was just struggling with, being bold and confident with that in every area of my life, and I think that was somewhat of a slow transition for me, because it's hard to kind of change your ways and kind of like maybe tell people that you're not on board with doing these certain things anymore. I think that's a difficult thing for people, is to finally make that change and say, I found the truth, this is the way I want to live my life now, and then, with that I have to proclaim that to everyone around me, and I might lose some friends because of it.
Harrison was then introduced to the extraordinary form, or Latin Mass as it's more commonly known. This is how Mass was celebrated up until Vatican II in the mid-60s.
And at first it pushed me away. I was like, this is just not me. It doesn't go with the world. It's just like kind of old school traditional stuff. But then I think that also attracted me because it was so different from the world. It's opened my eyes to the tradition of the faith, with St. Augustine, with Thomas Aquinas, with all of these great saints, and then seeing that this Mass of the Roman Rite, the Latin Mass, has been the Mass for the past 1,500 years that all these great saints went to. They were saying the same Latin prayers. It's just very beautiful. I feel very united.
Not only did Harrison start to attend Latin Mass, but he also started to serve every week. Father Sean Tunick is the Associate Pastor at the parish St. Michael the Archangel in Leawood, which is close by. He celebrates a Latin Mass every Monday evening, and recently he and Harrison organised a solemn high Mass, the most extravagant form of Latin Mass that can be offered. What is it about the Latin Mass that you think is particularly beautiful?
I think that we often settle that just kind of mediocre beige Catholicism is what people want. And it seems sometimes like the easiest route to go, to just give people what they want and kind of keep everybody happy. And the best way to keep the most amount of people happy is just stay in the middle. But this just shows me that, especially our young people, they want something more than just the typical. They want something that is noble and beautiful. And particularly when our society is so up in the air about what's a solid foundation. Morals are changing. Our ideas of theology, philosophy are changing. If we can put something in front of them that, look, this stood the test of time for 1,500 years. This isn't something that somebody made up this weekend to see what songs will get people excited, or can I preach a flashy message. This is the worship of God that lasted all the crises, the ups and downs of history for 1,500 years. That's something worthy.
Se tantum diquer vos nabitur anima mea, Domine non sum dignus ut interesse tectum meum, se tantum diquer vos...
What is it you get out of the Latin Mass?
Well, number one, the reverence for the Eucharist. If you go to a Latin Mass, communion's received kneeling on the tongue. There's a strong understanding of the sanctuary. There's a strong understanding of the altar, and that it's a sacrifice going on. A lot of parishes and a lot of young people are starting to realize the beauty of the Latin Mass, that this is the foundation of the Catholic faith, the Mass of 1,500 years, and that the Novus Ordo should continue on from that tradition of the Latin Mass.
Near the end of our interview, Harrison's wife Isabel gets their newborn son, James Augustine, up from his nap.
He's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Originally from Atlanta, the pair started dating in high school and married in 2018. And Isabel is a recent convert to the faith.
I had a moment one day where I was asking God, okay, I need you to show me, what is right, what is the right path? Like, do I go this way or do I go what Harrison's doing? And it's weird in that moment I actually felt like I was physically being embraced, and we were at Mass at the time, and that was kind of the moment when I decided, like, I want to be Catholic, like this is real, this is the truth. There you go, buddy boy. Just in time. Yeah.
What was it like balancing the highs and the lows? I'm thinking of the fact that you were just one win away from the Super Bowl, and then to contrast that with the ultimate high of the birth of your baby boy.
Yeah, a little different. I think, the birth of James was one of the highlights of my life. I was just talking with my wife, Isabel. I think we'd probably put our marriage first, our wedding, number one, and then the birth of James was incredible. And just, he's been alive for 9 months, and now he's finally out of the womb, and we can hold him. It was amazing.
If someone was to ask you, what is your main passion in life? Difficult question, I know, but how would you answer it?
Well, number one, my Catholic faith, so I'm trying to spread the Catholic faith as best as I can. I'm also a husband and father to my beautiful wife, Izzy, and a father to James Augustine. But I'm doing my best to use the platform God's given me to evangelize, to bring beauty and truth to others around me, and to help expose them to the truths of the Catholic Church.
Harrison, over the last half an hour, we've talked about a lot of deep issues, but final big question, of course. You were just one win away from it last season, but this season, Super Bowl?
I think so, definitely.
Are you praying for it?
I'm not praying about that, no.
Why not? You should be praying for it.
I don't know. I pray for myself to be a good husband and father, I guess. That's number one.
Harrison, it was great meeting you, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Colm. Appreciate it.
Celi celorumque virtutes beata Serafinis Ocean. Antigus et nostras voces, ad nunc fides et in amor.